I'm Elisa Parker. It is the Wild and Scenic Film Festival, 21 years. We're here in Nevada City, California. And I want to give it a big shout out as well to our team, our crew. We've been working together for many years. It's so great to come back together after 3 years of not doing the festival in person, and to our volunteers as well. Wild and Scenic Festival has hundreds of volunteers that show up for this festival and help make it happen. So many thanks to all of them as well. And if you're just catching us online for the first time, feel free to come on down here, or you can also participate in the films. We're doing a hybrid as well this year, so you can watch some online, or you can obviously come to Nevada City or Grass Valley, California and watch in person. And we've been connecting with some amazing people, including my next guest, who I'm just getting to know better, Sean O'Connor. Hi, Sean.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. And your film is Kumari, A Father's Dream, and it takes place in Nepal. Mm-hmm. And you were telling me that it's taken, 10 years?
10 years.
So 10 years. And here you are.
10 years.
What does that feel like then, to have it finally completed?
Yeah, it's amazing, This is a project that was always meant to really inspire people to do good in their community, no matter what resources they have in front of them. And we've been touting for a long time that this film was going to have a great impact around the world. Not fully knowing if it was true or not, just having this feeling that that's what it was going to be. And so to be here with audiences, and this morning when we screened, and just the eruption of applause and some of the tears and the thanks that we got after, it's just really palatable.
Right, it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, to see it making the impact that we always intended it to make.
Well, give us a synopsis of the film.
Sure, yeah. So the film follows the life of Jagat Lama, who grew up in a really rural part of Nepal, and he's part of the Tamang tribe, which traditionally is a very low caste in the caste system, and so very underserved as it goes. And he had this affinity for learning and really wanted to step out and learn and get education, which wasn't common in his region, in his community. So much to his father said no and didn't want him to go, and his mother slipped him a little bit of money, and he ran away from home to go after this life of learning. And when he stepped out, he could really see that this rural community where he's from was missing a lot of resource, and he decided that he wanted to do something about that. Had no resource to do so, and started a independent trekking guide cooperative. Which is amazing. So they acted as a social enterprise, and they were able to take 10% of all their dollars and bring it back to projects in Kumari as they went. While he was guiding, his father fell from a hill and was gravely injured, and his dad's dying wish to him, literally his last words were, I was wrong, and you are the hope of this region. You have to bring healthcare here.
Wow.
And so Jagat took that really, really seriously, right? But he didn't have the resource to just build a clinic. So they started from the roots. They started with a women's skills center, and if you empower the women, you empower the village.
That's true.
Makes sense.
Very true.
Which then led to the kids, and the kids then, of course, were enabled to learn more. So they built a school, and then they would identify key students from that school that showed a lot of promise, and they would scholarship them off to Kathmandu to study healthcare, to come back and serve their community as healthcare workers.
Wow.
And so that was the story. It was the building of their first clinic, and the first time they got electricity in their whole history. And we were able to kind of follow this story along, and we thought that was it. That was going to be the film, the happy ending, right? A couple years after, we hadn't finished the edit yet. In fact, we hadn't made much progress at all because funding and things like this. And we had given up on the film completely. And the day we called it, and I kind of put that hard drive away, the next day in 2015, the biggest earthquake in Nepal's history hit. Right. And all of that was gone.
Everything they just worked for years.
Leveled, completely leveled. So we switched modes from filmmakers to aid workers, and we took our story assets, built a crowd fund, raised like $25,000, and immediately sent medical teams out for triage, and connected up with some friends at Mountain Hardware and got a lot of tents and shelters because monsoons were next and they had no homes. And so within a week and a half of the earthquake, myself and one other of my crew were back on the ground, and again, changing roles a little bit and there to help, but then continued to tell this story as it went. And it just kept going, and then there was a whole rebuild process that occurred after.
So this is over the 10-year span.
This is over the 10-year span,
wow.
Exactly.
Wow, and several things come up for me around this. You've been to Nepal, you said, a couple times.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting process as a filmmaker, especially for documentaries, because you are so connected to people's lives. And that crossover and the sense of responsibility of being, not only are you there to witness and capture the story, but you're also now integrated.
Very much so.
And now you know about you. So, I mean, you just gave a great example of what that looked like, providing aid. But can you just speak to that a little bit as a filmmaker and how that's unique, actually doing documentaries where you're in it and you became part of the solution of your story?
Yeah, it's full immersion, right? We really do. I fall in love a little bit with every character that I make a film about, and we have to not only go there to make the film, but prior to that, we have to gain full permission, which is full trust, which is authentic relationship building that takes place. And so in pre-production and during production and all of that, it's all, I keep my camera in the bag as long as possible because it's about building these really true and real connections with people. So when we do sit down with them, they are open and they do invite us into their homes and their lives, and they're not embarrassed or worried that we're going to misrepresent or something like that. And then we have to strike this balance of we want to celebrate them for who they are, but we don't want to put them on a pedestal where it's top heavy and lonely. And so we have to really find this way to celebrate them, immerse with them, be part of their world with full trust. And then also when we put this out to the world, how do we do it in such a way that's respectful and doesn't leave them alone?
Right.
And that's a
right. And
trick.
Here you were. You're like, now I'm on the ground. And you, this isn't part of the film, but you mentioned also doing mountaineering yourself and climbing while you're in Nepal. So that's another way too of experiencing the sense of place where you are. How did you connect with him in the first place?
Yeah, so this story came to me through a gentleman named Les Zolbrecht, and he was the executive director of the Mountain Leadership Institute out of Portland, and they would do service-based expeditions, and they had been to Kumari a couple times to help with some building projects, and just by chance they were having a fundraiser. I donated some photos. I didn't know who they were, but when he came in to thank me for the donation, he kind of laid this story out for me and then looked at me and said, we should make a film. And I laughed and said, no way. That's way too big. I'm not going to do that. But I lost sleep over it. I couldn't stop thinking about Jagat's story and how he was really kind of breaking the mold of aid for his people in that kind of roots building from the community up, and not just looking for a bunch of funding to go ahead and build a medical clinic, because that's not sustainable.
Right.
But he's empowering the entire community to help themselves.
Right. So sharing that story too, it's such a great way to serve as a model for other communities.
Absolutely.
And what's possible, what we're all capable as human beings when we set our clear intentions for that. Yeah. And it takes a community.
It does.
You never know who it's going to be. It could be Sean O'Connor. It's going to capture your story. And that's the beautiful thing about life, isn't it? You never know where it's going to go and how we're all deeply connected in this too. So we'll have an incredible time at Wild and Scenic.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure having you here for the first time. And what else are you working on?
Oh, well, I make films full-time for a living, so I have a stack of films. The next one that's kind of festival ready is, it's called Twin Oaks, and it's about a multi-generational family of trail builders in the Pacific Northwest, where the gentleman who now runs the company his parents started was literally born on the trails. 16 days after a C-section, his mom hiked him into 6,000 feet, and
that is wild.
Grew up in the wilderness on long stints, and so we're telling that whole family legacy story right now, and we're just about done.
Closer to your hometown, a little bit.
They're locals.
Well, Sean, thanks so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm Melissa Parker, and stay connected with us. We're going to have other stories with other exceptional filmmakers and additional special guests, sometimes folks who are involved in the stories as well. It's good to be connected with you, and we'll be right back.
Yeah.